Hello everybody, I am Simona Mainini with Feng Shui for Architecture, and this is the introduction to the 9-Dragon Feng Shui update that we are going to present live on February 17, 2024 at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to show you the details now, and then we're going to proceed with our discussion today. And we're back. So let's talk a little bit about these famous 9 dragons. I've noticed, you might have noticed too, that these 9 dragons have become very popular in the world as a video game. Imagine that. It's not really related to what the 9 dragons are, but it's fun nevertheless. And the dragons are very popular in our pop culture. Game of Thrones, big, powerful, fire-breathing dragons and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. And 2024 is the year of the dragon. Now, the year of the dragon and the 9 dragons are actually 2 different concepts, but the symbology of the dragon in Chinese metaphysics is very similar. Pretty much the dragon, when they talk about dragon, they're talking about the animal of the dragon. So we're not going to see a dragon. Sorry about that. But we are gonna understand what dragons means in this ancient symbology. Remember, the ancient metaphysic in Chinese culture was developed many, many, many centuries ago, and it was very common to use a symbology in the language to relate certain concept. So when we generally see the word dragon used, it's usually referring to something powerful and majestic and great. So for example, they talk about dragon mountains. What are these dragon mountains? They are mountains that resemble the back of a dormant dragon. They're actually rolling hills and they're very green because it means that the qi inside is really strong. So the fact that they're green is very important. And because it means that the qi is very vibrant inside versus a hill that is, dry and brown and there isn't that much qi. So that would be a dragon mountain. So a superb mountain, an exceptionally good mountain, that's a dragon mountain. Sometimes they also refer to the emperor of China being the dragon amongst men. That means that is an exceptionally powerful man versus other men. Now, back to the emperors of China. The concept of the 9 dragon appears primarily inside the Forbidden City. Some of you might be familiar with this, but just for those of you that don't know, the Forbidden City, it's not a proper translation of the name of this city. First of all, it is a majestic example of good feng shui for the time that it was built. That was the early half of the 1400s. And it was really done with the best possible feng shui knowledge, which was actually already pretty high back in those days. But this 9 dragon, it's something that appears in the Forbidden City. There is this big mural, bas-relief mural that appears there. And it shows these 9 dragons, and this number 9 keeps repeating several times in various symbology within the Forbidden City. So what are these? Why 9 and why dragons? So obviously we have figured out by now that if it's dragon means something really big and powerful and important or significant. The fact that there are 9 is actually related to the I Ching, because this 9 dragon actually relates to the 8th trigram of the I Ching plus the midpoint, which is does not have an association with the trigram. But these dragons are actually associated with the element of time. And so in Feng Shui, Chinese metaphysics in general, there is this correspondence between heaven and earth. In fact, the Forbidden City, the real name of the Forbidden City is called the Purple Palace, because it is a representation on the earth of the Purple Palace of the heavens, where the Master of the Universe lives. And So the Forbidden City, being the representation on Earth, is also the dwelling of the purple emissary of heaven, which is the emperor, which has received the mandate of heaven to rule, which is a little different concept than what we have back in the Western world, back in old Europe, with emperors and things like that. Those emperors are a little bit more along the line of, God give me this title and nobody can touch it. But in Chinese culture, is more along the line, you're a chosen of heaven, so trying to earn this, step up to the plate. And so that's why we have dynasty that pass this along to the more, the descendant that is more worthy of this task. Because the idea is that if a dynasty or an emperor doesn't do his job, taking care of the land, taking care of the people, do the best that is possible for the people in protecting and feeding them and guaranteeing some kind of hope for the future, then heaven will take away this mandate and give it to somebody else more worthy. And this concept of mandate of heaven, interestingly enough, we found it at the beginning of the Zhou dynasty. And it's also worthy to remember that because the Zhou dynasty was actually founded by King Wen, and the children of King Wen, that was the emperor, or actually was a king back then, that also wrote the I Ching. And then the Duke of Zhou, his son, did the commentary. So there is this really strong intertwining between Chinese metaphysics, I Ching, Feng Shui, the connection of heaven and earth. So this idea of the mandate of heaven might be something more than just simply, a spiritual concept. It might be something that is more related to literally the forces of the cosmos, particularly the sun, and the effect that it has on the earth. And this is the foundation of the three powers in Feng Shui, where the forces of the cosmos, the sun, the electromagnetism of the sun is the most yang polarity, and the earth is the most yin polarity. And so there is this connection between the forces of the cosmos and the sun, the effect on the earth that manifest in the seasons, but also manifest in quantum changes of qi, which affect people as well. And in particular, the building that we built and how they affect us in return. So there is this interconnectedness between the forces of nature and the buildings and the human beings. So back to our 9 dragons. What are these 9 dragons? So let me show you. Let me show you something that will help you understand maybe a little bit better. And this is what I was telling you a second ago. This is the mural, a bas-relief mural that appears in the Forbidden City and represents these 9 dragons. As you can see, there is the earth, the water of the earth, the blue of the heavens, and there are these 9 dragons. They are represented literally like dragons, and they have different colors because the element of the I Ching, the triagrams that comprise the I Ching, are also associated with colors and natural element. And so what is telling us, or better, what these murals is reminding the emperors, that the forces of nature are what place them there, and they have to follow the flow of the qi of the forces of nature to be able to accomplish their task and rightfully rules over their people. So these dragon in particular, there are 9 of them, and they represent the passage of time. And the passage of time, in exclusively in the Chinese, in the Feng Shui calendar, is also divided in 20-year cycle. So it is divided in yearly cycles, which are, like this. For example, this year is the year of the dragon. Next year is going to be the year of the snake. Last year was the year of the rabbit. So yearly cycle, that cycle of 12. But then we have a cycle of 180 years comprised of 9 20-year cycles. And these 9 20-year cycles are exactly what this dragon represents. And remember, there is always a correspondence between heaven and earth. So they represent both the time passage, but also they represent the directions on earth. So there are 9 of them. Those are the 8 direction of the compass plus the center. So as you can see, as above, so below, there is constantly this interconnectedness. And so as you can see, this mural doesn't look particularly ancient, right? But there are 9 dragons here. You can see them. One is the one orange on the left, and then there is the purple one, the white one, the blue one. So you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. It's a very long wall. And truth to be told, this wall is not as old as the Forbidden City. The Forbidden City, as I mentioned, was built in the first half of the 1400s, but this mural was actually created in the second half of the 1700s, so it was over 300 years later. So just to look at a timeline, it's about as old as the French Revolution and about as old as the American Revolution, you know, more or less around that time. And it looks like around that time also there must have been a revival of Feng Shui. So the Forbidden City was built 300 years earlier, but I was translating a book with our translator, and the introduction, even though this book is not a Feng Shui book like we think in modern days, like, you know, the table of contents and so on and so forth, it's more a collection of essays written by different people at different times. It's more like a collection, and but the introduction is dated around that same time, the second half of the 1700s. So it appears there might have been a revival and a way of bringing back this old classical, authentic, you know, metaphysical information to a culture that by that time had become very Confucian, so more maybe focused on the affair of the state rather than metaphysics. So it's I thought it was interesting, this timeline. I also wanted to show you this painting where maybe they're a little bit clearer. Even here we have 9 dragons. You can see if you start from the left, there is this brown one, the black one, the white one. There are 3, and then there is the maroon one at the top, 4, and then there are 5 of them to the right. There is this purple one, this other dark blue one, the green one, the brown one, and the black one. They appear to be that color. And so there are 9 here as well, nine dragon here as well. And what's interesting here is that, as you can see, there is this sphere in the middle, and they seem to be all running around this sphere. They don't seem to be competing with each other. They just seem to almost looking up to the main dragon. And this is a clear representation of this passage of time for 2 reasons. First of all, because there are 9 time period and 9 directions. So as the time passes, there are certain characteristics that belong to each dragon that become more relevant, that become prosperous. So 2024 is actually the beginning of the Lee trigram dragon, related dragon, which might be, you know, very much related to this painting, since it is a red, it's a fire element. So you can see there is all the fire here. So this is the dragon that is going to be king for the next 20 years, or that is going to be the strongest one for the next 20 years, and the other kind of rotate around it. Some of them will be more powerful than other. Same things with the direction of the compass. But as you can see, also there is this sphere in the center, and the sphere in the center is you know, kind of floats on the waters of the primordial waters. But the sphere per se, it's often mistaken for the pearl of opportunity, which is a nice analogy, I have to admit. but it might not be super accurate in this case, because if these dragons represent the passage of time and they have to do with the cosmos, well, this sphere seems to represent more the yin polarity and the actual earth element, or actually the actual earth planet, not even the element, the planet itself. So we have all these yang versus yin and yang happen all around with this passage of time, and the earth, which is the polarity of yin, which is at the receiving end. Again, it's important to see that these dragons are not fighting each other, but they all seem to be following the leader. And this is happen every 20-year cycle. Even though it changes, there is always going to be a new king dragon, and the other are going to be following. They're not going to necessarily be conflicting. So I just want to remind you of our workshop coming up on February 17, 2024 at 11 a.m. It's going to be a 2-hour workshop, and we're going to be discussing practical tips. We're going to be discussing what we should be expecting from this next 20-year. Of course, you know, it's a 20-year forecast, so it might not happen overnight. When we do the forecast for the yearly forecast, we know as a finite in within a year. The 20-year might be, you know, a little bit slowly in the development. And also, by the way, I started telling you earlier, this year is the year of the dragon, and it's the beginning of a new dragon as well, but they're not necessarily two related things, because the year of the dragon belongs to a shorter cycle, and the ninth dragon is concept that relate to a larger time cycle in the measurement of time. But I'm looking forward to share with you what my observations are, and for what my experience is, and what the I Ching have indicated we should be expecting for the next 20 years. So I'm looking forward to see you then, and I'm gonna leave you here following all the details. You can go to our website at fengshuitrainingcenter.com to register. I'm going to leave you the detail at the back of this video, and also at the bottom of the page here. Here on YouTube, there is some space where I can put a link, an interactive link that will take you directly to the registration page. I'm looking forward to see you on February 17 at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's a live webinar, so we're going to be online, and share with you what I found in regard to these 9 dragons and the update for the between 2024 until 2043. Looking forward to see you then. Take care.